Hey folks, welcome to CSC 281 Advanced Programming. This little lecture snippet is going to teach you how to access the virtual machine, the Linux virtual machine in the cloud from a Windows machine. Now, I have to say, I mean, you may have noticed in class, I'm very biased against Windows. I used Windows for many, many, many years, but I now feel like it's just a really clunky, hard to use system, and it's much easier to use systems like Linux or OS 10. Linux, if you can't, don't want to shell out the bucks for an OS 10 machine, or OS 10 if you willing to shell out the bucks for it. But the software on the Windows machine is just a lot clunkier, and you'll see that compared to the software that I was using in the Introduction to Cloud Services. So in order to get all this stuff to work for Windows, we're going to have to do the basically the same thing we did on the OS 10 machine. We're going to need to connect to the virtual machine via SSH, and then after we've connected, we're going to run start the VNC server, and then we're going to run a VNC client on the Windows machine. Now it's a little trickier because the machine that we're using up in the cloud is a Linux machine, which is more compatible with OS 10. The machine that we're using in this demonstration is a Windows machine, which just is not as compatible with Linux. So but there are a bunch of tools that can all make it happen. There's just some configuration work that you have to do to get it all to work. All right, so here goes. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to download a program called Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. Just Google that, and you'll see a link that says download Putty, a free SSH and Telnet client for Windows. So we're going to go there, and we're going to click download Putty. You can download Putty here, so we're going to download it. And scroll down here, and there's a lot of different flavors of Putty. There's a lot of really cool things that Putty can do. But the thing that we're really interested in is this putty.exe file. So we're going to click on that to download it. And we're going to run it. Okay. So it's already in the download section of, it's in your download directory. Now, what we need to do is we need to set up a whole bunch of different things in order to get Putty to work properly with VNC. And so what we're going to do is we are going to first, right here, you can see provide the host name or IP address. Well, I'm going to assume that you have logged in to Amazon Web Services on the web with your user ID, and you've found the virtual machine that you are responsible for, that you own and control. So you can see there's a whole list of them here, but one of them is running, which is Matt Brooks, because I'm going to pretend I'm Matt. Now, if you scroll over to the right-hand side, you'll see the public IP. This is the IP address that you can use to connect to the virtual machine. So I'm going to make a copy of that, Control C, and then come over here and do a Control V. All right, super. Now, not done yet. There's a couple other things I'm going to have to do. One thing I'm going to have to do is click on this SSH link right here, and I'm going to expand it and say that click on the auth link, and I've got to let, just like in the OS 10 side there was this authorization key, a .pem file. Well, it turns out that for Putty to work, Putty needs a .ppk file. So in the email I sent you that contains a lot of these instructions plus links to this video, there is a .ppk, stonehillcs.ppk file that you can use and download from your email, and then you can link to it. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say, hey, I do actually have a ppk file that I want you to use when you connect to this machine. There it is. Open. All right. We're not done yet. We're still not done. The next thing we want to do here is click on X11 and say that we want to enable X11 forwarding. And then the next thing we want to do here is we want to say we're going to use a source port of 5900 and a destination of Control V 5901. So this is basically saying what we'd like to do is we'd like to tunnel, we'd like to, from this workstation, create a secure encrypted tunnel that uses the VNC protocol to talk to our virtual machine that's running in the cloud. So that way, all the graphics information that's being sent back and forth between this machine and the machine up in the cloud will be encrypted, so no one can look at it, which is really cool. Now, if you're using the OS X stuff, you don't have to do any of this configuration. It all just happens automatically when you do SSH. You get automatic tunneling for VNC. Okay, we're basically ready to go here. So what we need to do next is go over to session, and actually we need to let's save this session. I'm going to call this Amazon 2 because I've already tested this out to make sure it works. So click save, and then we'll click open. And what will happen here is it's going to say log on as. Putty says log on as. We're going to say this is actually the virtual machine talking to us. We're going to say we want to log on as Ubuntu. U. Okay, press enter. And boom, we're on the machine. Awesome. So this is very much like the terminal shell that we saw when we were over on the OS X. Okay, so you're seeing a slightly different window now. I did this because splicing an old video that I recorded for last year's class, which is still relevant, with some material from this year's class. So what you're seeing now is a terminal shell window. It's in OS X, but you would see the same thing if you were doing this in Windows. And when you log in, the VM automatically puts you in a directory called /student, or a folder called /student. There's some simple basic Linux commands that you probably should learn since you're going to be messing around in this environment a little bit. So one command is ls, which stands for list. So if I type ls, I'll get a list of the folders or directories that exist here. You see one that says CSC314, another one says CSC324. Obviously, the CSC324 is going to apply to this class. So there's some content in that folder, and I think probably what you want to do is use that folder to store any work that you're doing for the class. There's another thing that you can do, PWD. PWD is going to show you the directory that you're currently in. And there's another thing called CD, and CD will change directories. So why don't we do CD to CSC324? All right. Now, you can see by the prompt, but also if we do PWD, that we're in /student/CSC324. If you just type CD and press enter, it's going to bring you to the home directory. The home directory is not /student, it is /home/Ubuntu, which makes a lot of sense. If we do an ls here, you can see all kinds of crazy directories, including Eclipse. That's an interesting IDE that you can work with, but we're not going to work with it in this class. But I want to go back to /student, so I'm going to say cd /student/CSC324, and now do an ls. So there's two folders in here, Basics and Book Loader. Those contain content that we're going to talk about in the class. You can look at them if you want to. But for right now, what we're going to do is just create a little simple hello program right here in the CSC324 directory. So how we do that is we're going to use an editor called Emacs, E-M-A-C-S. And this editor is awesome. It runs in every single programming environment that you could possibly think of. It's everywhere, including Windows. And there's a tutorial. There's lots of online help and stuff like that. But I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to work with Emacs. So the first thing you want to do is open a file. So you do that by holding the control character down and press X. And then let up the control character and press F. Oops, let's try that again. Hold the control character down, press X, and then keeping the control character down, press F. It says find a file, and we're going to make up a file. We're going to call it hello.py. The py stands for Python.
All right, Python's such an easy language to learn. We just want to print hello. So I'm going to use the command print, and I'll use single quotes, hello world. Couple exclamation points. And we don't do semicolons. You can, but you don't have to. All right, I'm done with my program. All right, really simple. I'm going to hit Control X and then press the S key to save. And it says, do you really want to save? Yes. And then I'm going to get out by hitting Control X and C. Oops, sorry. Control X and Control C. So I'm holding the control character down, pressing X and then C. All right. Now, if I do an ls, you'll see that hello.py is now something that's in the current directory. And if I say Python space hello.py, my program will run. Pretty awesome, huh? Let's just do a little bit more with Emacs. I'm going to type Emacs hello.py and do that. And now I'm editing this file. So, you know, this is a keyboard-based editor, the way it's currently set up. So you're going to have to learn some basic keyboard commands. So let's say I want to add a little more text here. I'm going to press Enter a couple times. And I'm going to put a comment in here. So if you want to move up, press the up key, up arrow. If you want to move down, press the down arrow. If you want to move right, press the right arrow. If you want to move left, press the left arrow. So that should make sense, right? So I'm moving right, moving left, moving up. I'll put a comment in here. This is my first comment. Let's spell comment correctly. Some other keyboard characters that might be useful to know. If you want to find something, let me go back to the top here. If I do Control S, that will search for something. So if I'm looking for something in the code, hello. You can also do search and replace. So to do that, you do escape X, string replace. Ooh, let's spell that correctly. Replace. Trying lots of commands here. Meta X replace string. There we go. Came back to me. So I'm going to type the string hello, and I want to replace it with goodbye. Kind of grim. Goodbye world. All right, and I'll save that. Control X, S. Yes, I want to save this. Let's get back out. Control X, Control C, and then type Python hello. Now I could type it out, but I'm going to use the up arrow key, and I can circulate through the commands that I've already typed. Python hello. Goodbye world. All right, that's good enough for now.